It's also one of the first tractors ever where they actually filled those rear wheels about 3/4 of the way with antifreeze type liquid so that it gives you some extra weight and traction.
I do believe Alice Chalmers was the first company to put pneumatic tires on their machines as well.
That's exactly what that is.
Yep. Here's got another product from the Advanced Rumbling Crushing Machine Company there in LaPorte, Indiana. This one is a product of 1920. It's model H, 16 and 30 horsepower, owned by Jim Hoffman there in McHenry, Illinois. We had another transitional era tractor, but this one is probably a plow machine. So they want this on very early mechanized car. Why did they call it
We have a farm all race with the 1945, which is a pretty map out of Noah, Illinois. So the steel wheels on it, a lot of tractors up even through the late 40s, even though a lot of them transitioned over to pneumatic rubber tires, still offered those steel wheels as an option. We have a Cub Lowboy, it's a 185 turbo diesel in the 1974 Ford truck there out of Sycamore, Illinois. The Cub Lowboy is an offshoot of the farm all Cub. We'll probably see one of those come through later. Here's a John Deere LA. This is a 1942 Ford truck that's out of Sycamore, Illinois. The John Deere LA is a bigger version, stronger version of the John Deere L. It looks than the other John Deere tractors. That was actually developed in Dubuque, Iowa, as opposed to at the Waterloo. Here is John Deere D. This is one of the most successful tractors. One of the first commercially successful tractors John Deere made. One of their first mass-produced ones. And it had a production run of about 30 years. This is a John Deere C. This is a VR, okay, that's the last VR. Then we have a Farm All M. This is a 1945. This is Harry Rendell from Kingston, Illinois. Then we have a Case BAC. This is a 1947. This is Jason Mace out of Marengo, Illinois. We have a 1929 Case B owned by Bill Bates. Again, it's a battleship grade prior to Case coming up with that excellent red color. Case B was also one of the first tractors that John Deere made after getting away from speed. We have a Worthington Salt Team, 1941. Big wonderful. Looks like a new one. Here we have a Minneapolis Moline DAU. This is a 1949. This is Mark Rivera. Minneapolis Moline Z was the first Minneapolis Moline tractor with the Vision Line design, meaning that it had that very gold color on it. It usually had a designed front grill as well. Then we have a 1943 Farm All Ace. This is Rob Ryan from Hampshire, Illinois. Longtime local club member. We have an Alice Chalmers B. It's a 1938, 14 horse. Matt Woodridge out of St. Charles, Illinois. We have a Matt Harris 30. This is a 1948. This is Stuart Hutz out of Maple Park, Illinois. We have a John Deere 830 diesel. This is a 1959. This is Dick Rivera out of Gilbert, Illinois. As I was saying before, John Deere, they had letters, they had double numbers and triple numbers. This 830 was basically the descendant of the 80, which was the descendant of the R. The R was a replacement for the D. Here we have a half scale coming through here. We have a half scale 1950 Farmall W6. This is Mary Richardson's out of Marengo, Illinois. Sort of the same as what Liam was saying with the half scale steam engines. Not everybody has a giant semi-truck and trailer to be hauling tractors around. So a lot of people, they like to have these half scales, and they're excellent. Here's a half scale of a Ford 8M. This is Andy Richardson out of Marengo, Illinois, in memory of Grandpa Lloyd Todd. Here we have a half-scale John Deere D. It's based on the 1937. This is part of the Richardson family collection out of Marengo, Illinois. We have a half-scale of the John Deere 4440 schematic plates out of McHenry, Illinois. 4440, one of the 80s models of tractors John Deere had. We have a John Deere B. This is 1940. This is Terry Blake out of McHenry, Illinois. We have a Farmall Lakes, 1947. John Joy out of Lombard. We have another Farmall B, 1940s. Farmall Super M. Again, basically just a much more powerful, better version of the M in the mid to late 50s. This is Bob LaRose out of Hampshire, Illinois, with an excellent custom-made people wagon in tow, the whole family with them. We have a Minneapolis Moline U. This is a 1951. Ethan Coach out of Rochelle, Illinois. Looks like that's running on kerosene, propane. Besides just gasoline and diesel, there were a lot of popular alternative fuel options, including but not limited to propane and gasoline. Here we've got a 1937 John Deere. This is Dennis Shanks out of Elburn, Illinois. Excellently restored. You can see that this is the unstyled model. It's basically a piece of sheet metal bent up and over the top of the engine. We have a Minneapolis Moline UTU. It's a 1949. This is George Landorf out of Montgomery, Illinois. Minneapolis Moline famous for having their side-mounted overhead valves, and then they had arms that were going on the outside up to the valves so there were no lifter arms inside. This is a Case 400. This is 1957. This is Mark Landorf out of Union, Illinois. We're in a John Deere A. It's a 1939. Charles Woodruff out of somewhere, Illinois. Elgin, Illinois. Here is an unstyled 1939 John Deere G. This is John Elko out of Kingston, Illinois. The G would later go on to become the 70s and 700 series. We have a 1939 John Deere B. This is also John Elko out of Kingston, Illinois. We have a regular Farmall M with a road prop double tricycle front. It's a 1949 Taylor Judas. We have a 1944 John Deere A. This is Chuck Burnsmith out of Sycamore, Illinois. The A was power-wise the big brother to the B. Here we have a 1957 Farmall 350. This is Don Pearson out of Janelle, Illinois. The Farmall name came from the original International Harvester Farmall tractor. We'll see one of those come through later. It was called the Farmall because originally tractors were mainly just developed to do drawbar and pulley work. But Farmall, International, they wanted something that could power different implements like harvesters and stuff like that. So they came up with the Farmall tractor, which also had a PTO on the back. Here we've got a Alex Chalmers Series 3 D12 and also a D10. The difference essentially between the D10 and D12 was the tire width apart. So the D10 had a little bit narrower axle, just a little bit wider. Here we've got a 1958 John Deere 730. This is Thomas Ray out of DeKalb, Illinois. This is the 36 730 was manufactured. And that 700 series being an ancestor of the Model G. 700 series were so popular that those ended up still being made up until even the mid to late 60s. Very popular down in Argentina for whatever reason. Here we got an International 656 in the 1970. That's Sparky Olds out of Hampton, Illinois. And here we have a 1953 Ferguson T030. This is Sparky Olds out of Hampton, Illinois. Ferguson famously got the handshake deal with Ford to make the Ford Ferguson 9N. Ferguson couldn't get the rights to make the machine over in Britain, so he made his own, which was just the Ferguson. The TO meant overseas, but overseas to Britain, so that was probably made in Detroit. Here we've got a JD 3365. It's a 1993. This is Chris Johnson's out of Portland, Illinois. This is what we use to mow our grounds here, and it used to be the mower for the Keeneland High School. Here we've got a 1957. Nope, that's wrong. Here we've got a John Deere 80. This was John Deere's first foray into diesel tractors, and this one had power steering. Here we've got Taylor Sunderland on this John Deere 520. This is Taylor Sunderland, one of our directors here at the show. We've got a John Deere Model 8 1954. This is Joe Lind out of Sycamore, Illinois. Here we've got a John Deere 60. This is 1954. It's a John Deere Model 8. You saw it come through. This is its descendant. This is Andrew and Dana Eggers out of Clinton, Iowa. Here we've got a Farmall B. It's a 1945. This is David Lewis out of Quincy, Illinois. Notice it has an offset seat and steering rack. And that was so that you could see where you were driving better. This is Lady B. This restoration job looks like it was done yesterday, but this restoration job was actually done 25 years ago. Here we have a Farmall Super C. It's 19-something with a nice people wagon on the back of it. And here we have a Farmall. This is a 1929 Farmall regular.